All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Before we get started, we want to send you all our well wishes during the current pandemic of COVID-19. Again, let us continue to do our part to stop the spread of this virus. As we've been stating for the last 6-7 months, we know that it is the uncertainty that fuels our anxiety, the stress, and the unknown. However, help, and I use that in quotes, help is on the way with the arrival of the Pfizer-approved vaccine. So even though people are taking it, some are taking it, some are not taking it, in the meanwhile, let's continue to do our part by continuing to wash our hands, practicing social distancing, and wearing our masks to do our part to slow the spread of this virus. Also, thank you for your tremendous support, and if we can serve as a distraction to everything that's going on, that is something that we will continue to do. Now, we are glad to be back broadcasting. We are glad to be back doing what we enjoy doing. I know we've definitely been tied up the last couple of weeks with holiday travel and whatever other things that we had going on. So that's why we weren't able to broadcast. But of course, we have been watching. We have been keeping our eyes on the Dallas Cowboys. And of course, we take great pride in doing broadcasts when the Cowboys win and when they lose. And obviously, by their record this year, they have done a whole lot of losing rather than winning. So that's something that we try to stay on top of. So if you have been following our program, you know that we do a week-to-week coverage of the Dallas Cowboys. Well, being that we could not broadcast because, again, we were busy with everything that we had going on, we're going to do 3 broadcasts in one where we're going to review the Dallas Cowboys games from Week 11, Week 12, and Week 13. So something that's different, something that we figure we don't want to miss out on too many games. We didn't get a chance to cover the Cowboys Week 2 game and the miraculous comeback against the Atlanta Falcons because, of course, we were sick and we had explained that. So this time, we know we've gone 3 straight games without broadcasting. People have been hitting me up. Hey, Chin Check, we haven't heard from you. What's going on? So we're going to review the 2020 Dallas Cowboys Week 11, Week 12, and Week 13. So just bear with us. We're going to get through it. And for us Cowboys fans, it's going to be hard listening and doing this broadcast because, of course, the product that we see on the field is not the greatest in the world. So let's jump to Thanksgiving. Week 11 playing the Washington football team, a team that already had dominated the Cowboys a few weeks prior. There was maybe some excitement in the air or some hope in the air after their win against the surging, at the time, Minnesota Vikings. And definitely, the Cowboys definitely had a lot of good momentum going into this game. People felt good about their chances. Ezekiel Elliott had his first 100-yard rushing game of the season, played a solid game against the Minnesota Vikings. And for all of that, the Cowboys were wiped out on Thanksgiving, 41-16 by the Washington football team. So let's go to our stats here. Quarterback Andy Dalton, 25 of 35 attempts, 215 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Running back Ezekiel Elliott, 10 carries, 32 yards. Amari Cooper, 6 catches, 112 yards, and 1 touchdown. Michael Gallup, 6 catches, 41 yards. And on the defensive side, Donovan Wilson, 10 total tackles, 9 solo. Xavier Woods, 10 total tackles, 6 solo. Leighton Vander Esch, 7 total tackles, 4 solo, 1 tackle for a loss. And Jalen Smith, 4 total tackles, 1 solo, and 1 interception. Randy Gregory, 3 total tackles, 3 solo, and 2 sacks. And DeMarcus Lawrence also chipped in with a sack. There's not much really to cover about this game. You thought the Cowboys came to play. Amari Cooper catches a 54-yard touchdown from Andy Dalton. That was kind of exciting, so that kind of got people in the flow. And then pretty much the Cowboys got the doors blown off, where I don't know what in the hell Mike McCarthy was thinking by going for, I believe, a fake punt, if my memory serves me correctly, deep in their own territory. And at that point on, it was off to the races for the Washington football team, and the Cowboys just went down the drain. Now, another bright spot of the game was Jalen Smith's interception in the third quarter, and I told my boy Stancil, I said, he texted me and said that Jalen Smith was slow, and I said personally it was a sloppy block by Leighton Vander Esch, but that's a prime example of no longer those crackback blocks that the league used to have. And of course, that whole keep your head on a swivel, that doesn't apply anymore in today's NFL. If it was a couple of years ago, that running back would have been wiped out from even making a tackle on Jalen Smith. So it was a great, he threw the ball right to Jalen Smith, and Smith raced up the sideline, gets tackled, and the Cowboys only get a field goal out of it. Maybe had he scored a touchdown, that would have maybe changed the momentum of the game, but he ended up getting a field goal, and again, they were wiped out 41-16. Now, what is concerning going forward? And like I texted a good buddy of mine today, the Cowboys' strengths in the 210, so from anything from 2010 till now, has been their offensive line with Tyron Smith, Hall of Famer, Zach Martin, Hall of Famer, Travis Frederick, borderline Hall of Famer, solid players in Doug Free and Lyle Collins. As you see, none of these guys are actually playing football for the Dallas Cowboys in the year 2020. You have Tyron Smith, who has been injured, and he's been injured for the last couple of years. You have Zach Martin, who now this year, and really towards the end of last year, was getting banged up, but this year he's actually gone down with injuries. Travis Frederick, retired. Lyle Collins, bad hips and all. He missed the whole season. And the Cowboys are getting whipped up front. Their best player is Connor Williams, and ironically, Connor Williams, who's the best player on this offensive line, is the weak link when you have all your starters. So this is something that, as a Cowboys fan, and I hope other Cowboys fans realize, that there needs to be a rebuilding of the offensive line to try to get younger. And here's why I say that. For the next at least 5 years, you're going to be going against a Washington football team that has numerous first-round picks on their defensive line. And I mean first-round picks in Deron Payne, first-round picks in Jonathan Allen, first-round picks in Montez Sweat, the number 2 overall pick in Chase Young. That is a lot of talent on that defensive line. And you saw as the game wore on, the Cowboys could not handle the Washington football team offensive line, which was a carbon copy of the first time they played. So this is something that, while there's questions about signing Dak to a long-term deal, drafting a quarterback, they really need to think and consider about rebuilding that offensive line, because not only do you have to contend with the Washington football team and their defensive line full of first-rounders, even the New York Giants, they have a couple guys on their defensive line who started to make some waves. So what was once a strength, like my boy McKnight said, what was once a strength of that team is now becoming a serious liability. And they really need to rebuild that offensive line, because Montez Sweat is only going to get better. Chase Young is only going to get better. You still got Deron Payne. You still got Jonathan Allen. And they're coached by Ron Rivera, who is a damn good defensive coach, who has always, especially during his tenure in Carolina, has had pretty much defenses ranked in the top 10 and was known for solid defensive lines with the Coney Ealis of the world, you know, and I'm trying to think of other guys who played for Carolina, but they've always had solid defensive line play. So this is something that I feel that's a bigger issue in Dallas over any quarterback. They really need to rebuild that defensive line. So now this goes to week 12, Tuesday, on a Tuesday, playing the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the backstory behind this game was the Cowboys were supposed to play the Baltimore Ravens the week after Thanksgiving. Because usually the Cowboys, they'll play the Sunday before Thanksgiving, they'll play on Thanksgiving, and then they'll have a 10-day break and won't play until the following Sunday. The NFL, seeing a way to make money, decides to have the Cowboys play the Thursday after Thanksgiving to get a Thursday night game, to have the Cowboys playing again, and their opponent was the Baltimore Ravens. Unfortunately, due to the Ravens, they had a COVID-19 problem, and most notably, star quarterback Lamar Jackson testing positive for COVID-19, as well as other players being placed on the COVID-19 list. Their game against the Pittsburgh Steelers that was supposed to occur on Thanksgiving, that was postponed, and which subsequently moved the Cowboys game back to the date in which they played. And that was a return of one Lamar Jackson, who clearly did not miss a beat, as the Cowboys were boat raced 34-17. Let's go into our stats for the game, and really not much to report here. Andy Dalton, 31 of 48, 285 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Ezekiel Elliott, 18 carries for 77 yards. Michael Gallup, 7 catches for 86 yards. Rookie sensation CeeDee Lamb, 6 catches, 46 yards. On the defensive side, which we'll get to that in a second, Jalen Smith, 12 total tackles, 7 solo. Darian Thompson, 7 total tackles, 5 solo. Jordan Lewis, 5 total tackles, 5 solo, 1 tackle for a loss. Returning, Chidobe Awuzie, 5 total tackles, 4 solo. Where do we begin with this game, ladies and gentlemen? There's really nothing to say. It was a thorough ass whipping. And this number that I'm going to give to you, 294. So let me say this to you again, 294. Folks, that is how much yards the Baltimore Ravens ran on the Dallas Cowboys in that game. Now, to have somebody run for 294 yards on you, that is, some's going to say coaching, players not in the right position, but I believe in good old-fashioned effort. As I'm watching that game, and I'm texting friends back and forth, I said, where is the effort on some of those plays? Now, on the first touchdown run with Lamar Jackson, clearly, I believe that was either Sean Lee or Leighton Van Ness, who was clearly out of position, and that allowed Lamar Jackson to just race up the field untouched, and to get smacked around for 294 yards is not a good look. And by the way, that was on 37 rushing attempts with a 7.9 yards per rush. That's bad, and that's embarrassing, because it just shows that you're getting whipped on the line, you don't have any effort, and there's an old saying that hope dictates effort. And I saw no effort, and that's a serious problem, because I still have a top-paid defensive end, a top-paid linebacker, other people who want money in a couple of years, and I just don't see it. And I think the low point of that game to me was on the very last touchdown run, that the Ravens offensive lineman goes in the end zone, looks at the camera, and says either too easy or easy money. And if that wasn't a slap in the face to one's pride, I don't know what is. Now, some jackass named Skip Bayless is going to get up there and say, well, the Cowboys gained more first downs than the Baltimore Ravens, 29-19. They won the game in time of possession. Those stats mean nothing to me. I'm not with all this analytics crap. I look at what I see on the football field. And what I see on the football field is a team getting physically manhandled. You have the Dez Bryant spirit lurking around the game. Unfortunately, he tested positive for COVID-19, and Dez, we wish you all the best in the recovery. And of course, and that would have added more drama to the game. But Dez Bryant notwithstanding, the Baltimore Ravens cracked open a can of whip ass on the Dallas Cowboys. Again, 34-17 to drop the Cowboys to 3-9. And the insult was almost 300 yards rushing. That's a serious problem. Moving on to week 13, a 30-7 win against the Cincinnati Bengals. What was notable about this game, quarterback Andy Dalton, who played for the Bengals, who led the Bengals to numerous playoff appearances, made his return after being released by the Bengals. And I will give the people of Cincinnati a lot of credit. They definitely welcomed him with open arms. Definitely, being let out, even over the PA system, that Andy Dalton was leading out the Dallas Cowboys, and he got a ovation. And of course, we know that stadiums are not packed to capacity because of COVID. But I thought that, the city of Cincinnati definitely did right by Andy Dalton. And yeah, they beat the Bengals. And this is the Bengals team who was either going to be starting a rookie quarterback, and he goes hurt, so now they're down to their second-string quarterback. And let's read some stats for the game here. Really not much to say. We have Andy Dalton, 16 completions out of 23 attempts, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. Running back Ezekiel Elliott, 12 carries, 48 yards. And speaking of Ezekiel Elliott, okay. I'm not going to blame Zeke. I have to look at the coaching. I have to look at the play calling, because Zeke only 12 carries. I mean, what the hell going on? I'm looking at a guy who was getting 20, 25, 30 carries a game. And for the Cowboys coaches who don't seem to understand, Ezekiel Elliott is a running back who needs carries. And again, I'm not comparing him to Emmitt Smith, but Emmitt Smith at his best was not in the first or second quarter. It was in the third and the fourth quarter. Grind the defense down. Your offensive line is wearing them out. Now, of course, again, as we stated earlier, the offensive line is not the same that it was before. But Zeke Elliott, only 12 carries, that's just not good enough. And Zeke, yes, doesn't appear to have that burst that Tony Pollard has. So maybe it's good to spell Tony Pollard, or maybe Tony Pollard is starting to get some of the carries that Zeke is supposed to get. But they're going to have to work this thing out here. Wide receiver Amari Cooper, 4 catches, 51 yards. CeeDee Lamb, 2 catches, 46 yards. What the Cowboys really made their bones was on the defensive side in this game. Jalen Smith, 11 total tackles, 8 solo. Rashard Robinson, 9 total tackles, 6 solo. Leighton Vander Esch, 7 total tackles, 3 solo. Xavier Woods, 6 total tackles, 4 solo. And Jordan Lewis, 6 total tackles and 2 solo. Now, the Cowboys in this game forced 3 turnovers. And all in the first half. 2 fumbles back-to-back by the Bengals running back, and one caused by DeMarcus Lawrence. The other one where Van Der Esch did fill the hole. The running back runs into the back of his lineman, and then Aldon Smith picks up the ball, races, I believe, 70-something yards down the field. As Michael Strahan said, with a piano strapped to his back in the last 10 yards. And definitely, I didn't think he was going to make it. He was struggling to get into that end zone. But good for Aldon Smith. The Cowboys defense finally was able to force turnovers, or they did to the Bengals what's been happening to them against the Falcons and some of these other teams that they've been playing, where they've been turning the ball over inexplicably. Same thing with Ezekiel Elliott fumbling the ball in the Thanksgiving game against the Washington football team, and that also turned momentum around that game. So definitely a stellar job by the Cowboys. Again, I'm not going to go doing backflips and cartwheels and really be bragging. You beat a team who only has 2 wins. You beat a team who was either starting a rookie quarterback or their backup quarterback. So this was a game that you're kind of supposed to win, and you're kind of supposed to win big. So I'm not one of these guys, we're real at Chin Check Radio. We're going to tell like it is, and we don't have time for the foolishness. A win is a win. Now the question is, that kind of knocks the Cowboys out of that top 2 or top 3 draft spot, especially by beating the Bengals, because of course you're looking at your draft order, probably going to be the Jets, the Jaguars, the Bengals, and now the Cowboys. So it's one of those, you already know that Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields are going to be going with the first 2 picks. I prefer the Cowboys to move up and take that tackle, Sinai Puel or something like that, and if I'm mispronouncing his name, please forgive me, but that tackle out of Oregon, I believe, I would really like him to replace a Tyron Smith and really start to rebuild that offensive line and kind of get younger, infuse some youth in there. but we'll wait and see what happens as the season shakes out. The Cowboys now are 4-9. They play the San Francisco 49ers that was flexed out. Now, folks, okay. You know it's a bad season in Dallas when the Cowboys are flexed out of a primetime game. For those of you who don't know and who don't want to admit it, the Dallas Cowboys is the biggest brand and most well-known brand in all of, I'll even make it say, American sports. Now you can say world sports, whether it's, these soccer teams, but at least in American sports, continental United States, from sea to shining sea, the Dallas Cowboys are the biggest brand in sports in the United States because the game of professional football is the most popular sport in the United States. The Cowboys are a ratings draw. Why? Because you have people like me who are diehard Cowboys fans and we love the Cowboys and our residence is decked out with Cowboy stuff. Or you have people like the majority of you probably listen to the program who are enjoying the fact that we're losing and you can't stand the Cowboys. So that's either one or two. You love the Cowboys or you hate the Cowboys. They're very polarizing. It's either one side or the other. I know people, Falcons fans who hate the Cowboys, but your biggest rival is the New Orleans Saints, and y'all and the Saints pretty much own y'all. So that's just what it is. So the Cowboys are a ratings draw, especially when they're winning. You know it's bad when they flex the Cowboys out of a primetime game and they put them at the 1 o'clock slot. That goes to show you how bad the 2020 Cowboys have been when you're flexed out of a primetime game, because it's a known fact when the Cowboys are on Sunday, people watch Cowboys whether you love them like we do or hate them like the majority of people do. And that's kind of bad. And now questions have to start being asked to what do we do with Mike McCarthy. Apparently the Jones family has said that Mike McCarthy will be returning as coach. I'm not too keen on that, but I understand you don't want to bring in another head coach. But the defensive, there needs to be some changes. Again, you have to revamp that offensive line. The defensive coordinator, Mike Nolan, needs to be fired because, again, against the Bengals, I might even look into that, but I'm looking at piss poor effort against the Ravens, bad scheming, players not in the right position, and players not giving the right effort. I don't understand why Sean Lee is still on the team. He should make a good linebacker coach. The linebackers, they need to start looking into Jalen Smith as well as Leighton Vander Esch. I'm looking at Leighton Vander Esch, again, out of position, missing tackles, not wrapping up, and he has this bad habit of lowering his head, and then you wonder why he has all type of head and neck issues. So I'm seeing him doing that. The defensive line, I don't see much of a pass rush. So these are things that they're gonna have to make some hard decisions, and I'm of the firm belief if somebody is not cutting the mustard. Now they cut all the free agents who they signed in the offseason. Yeah, that's great, but sometimes it's good to send a message and cut one of your homegrown guys, send a message to everybody else that mediocrity, lack of effort, lack of discipline will not be tolerated. So this is something where the Cowboys have a lot of work to do because I'm looking at an offensive line that's getting old. You have questions at quarterback, whether you're going to pay Dak some money or draft another quarterback or draft a rookie quarterback. I'm looking at a defense that is just totally atrocious, especially on the defense. Well, the whole thing, I can't even pick any good part of the defense. If I have to maybe pick some good people, you got Trayvon Diggs, but he's more of a feast or famine guy where he'll make a great play, but at the same time, he'll get burned by a touchdown. Chidobe Awuzie is okay, but then again, he's banged up, constantly in and out of the lineup. Our safeties, I don't know what do we have at safety. One day they're playing good, the other day they get torched across the field. Our linebackers, they had a great 2018 and they haven't been the same since. Our defensive line, Aldon Smith started out good. Yes, he had the fumble return for a touchdown, but in terms of actual defensive line play, he's kind of been stagnant since the week 4, week 5, I would say the midway point of the season. You got Randy Gregory back. But of course, he's prone to failing some drug tests or violating some policy. And again, he was hot when he first played, but I haven't really seen the production on the field. I got DeMarcus Lawrence, who's now starting to make a little bit of a presence, but a little bit too little too late. So the Cowboys have a lot of work to do, and this is fun. This is fun definitely discussing the Cowboys' last 3 games. We're not going to make a habit of it. We're definitely going to try to get back to our weekly broadcast discussing the Dallas Cowboys. So at Chin Check Radio, until the next time, we are signing off.